Welcome to This Explainer, okay? Let's just dive right into it. Today, we're tackling something literally every entrepreneur faces, but, well, let's be honest, almost nobody actually looks forward to: local and state regulations. We're going to treat Georgia's complex business regulations kind of like an onion. Now, why an onion? Because getting your business fully compliant isn't just a simple one-and-done deal. It's built in distinct layers stretching all the way from local county codes up to massive state and federal mandates. And you've got to peel them back one by one to get to the core, which is a fully legally operating business. So, think you're ready to launch your Georgia business? You've got the business plan locked down, the funding sorted, and you've got the passion. But staring down those government websites? Yeah, it can be incredibly overwhelming. Acknowledging that anxiety over the red tape is totally normal. But don't worry, because in this explainer, we're going to give you a super clear, empowering visual roadmap right to opening day. By the end of this, you are going to know exactly what paperwork is standing between you and your grand opening. All right, here's our agenda. We'll be covering the local foundation, the SAVE requirement, E-Verify for employers, food and farm rules, and finally, deadlines and penalties. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The local foundation.
Now, what's actually really interesting right off the bat is the terminology. You might be searching high and low for a business license, but in Georgia jurisdictions, places like Gwinnett County or the city of Johns Creek, the formal legal term you're actually looking for is an occupational tax certificate. Just think of this as your golden ticket. And whether you're a massive commercial enterprise or just a solo freelancer working from your couch, this certificate is absolutely required. Oh, and it's strictly valid for 1 calendar year, from January 1st through December 31st. The actual paperwork you need to get that golden ticket? Well, that depends heavily on where you set up shop. If you're running a home-based business, counties like Gwinnett are going to require a copy of your driver's license or state ID. And crucially, this is a big one, the address on that ID must perfectly match your home-based business address. You're also going to need a signed residential disclosure agreement. On the flip side, commercial businesses have a totally different threshold. You have to provide a certificate of occupancy or an authorized tenant name change permit just to prove the commercial space is legally vetted for your specific type of work. So you're probably wondering, how much does this local license actually cost? Well, it's not just a flat fee. Using the city of Johns Creek as an example, local municipalities calculate your occupational tax assessment using a formula made up of a few different ingredients. It's a combination of your business's total gross receipts, a profitability ratio that's tied to your specific industry's NAICS code, the total number of employees you have, and a base administrative fee. So it's a highly customized tax assessment based entirely on the footprint and revenue of your specific operation. Moving right along to Section 2, the SAV requirement. This specific requirement is actually grounded in the official Code of Georgia annotated, Section 50-36-1 to be exact. It states, and I quote, "Every agency or political subdivision shall verify the lawful presence in the United States under federal immigration law of any applicant for public benefits." So what does that actually mean for you? Well, under Georgia law, a local business license is legally classified as a public benefit. And because of that classification, local governments literally have to verify your immigration status before they can hand over your license. Okay, I know that legal text sounds pretty intimidating, but let's break it down into the actual practical paperwork steps you as the business owner need to complete. To satisfy the SAFE program, you simply need to provide one secure and verifiable document. We're talking a U.S. passport or a driver's license. Then you just execute a signed and sworn affidavit attesting that you are a U.S. citizen, a legal permanent resident, or a qualified alien. It's a mandatory checklist item for sure, but it's a really straightforward one if you just have your documents ready to go. Let's peel back the next layer. Section 3. E-Verify for employers. 10. Seriously, lock this number in your brain. If you're a private employer in Georgia, crossing the threshold of having more than 10 employees is exactly what triggers the strict state mandates for E-Verify compliance. Now, if you have 10 or fewer, you are generally exempt, though you still have to file an affidavit stating that fact. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the strict parameters of E-Verify. If you're a private employer with more than 10 W-2 employees working 35 hours or more a week, you've got to provide an E-Verify number and affidavit to get your business license. Interestingly enough, if you are a public employer or a contractor doing the physical performance of services for a city, this applies to you regardless of your size. No exemptions there. E-Verify is basically an internet-based system that electronically confirms the employment eligibility of your new hires, and local governments will require you to submit updated E-Verify affidavits every single year. Taking a slight detour now, Section 4, Food and Farm Rules. When it comes to food businesses, jurisdictions can definitely overlap, but they break down cleanly by category. If you're baking non-hazardous foods, think breads or cakes, in a home kitchen, you fall right under the cottage food license, which is regulated by the Georgia Department of Agriculture. If you're out there growing fresh fruits and veggies on a farm, you're looking at produce safety rules, and those are enforced jointly by the FDA and the state. And if you're dealing with meat, well, you're entering the strict, highly regulated realm of meat inspection, overseen by the USDA and the State Department of Agriculture. Let's look a little closer at livestock, because the regulatory line here is super fascinating. Selling a live animal directly to a consumer on your farm, that's perfectly legal, provided the actual slaughter is handled either by the buyer themselves or a separate licensed facility offsite. However, the exact moment you want to sell processed meat, like say packaged cuts at a local farmer's market, you cross a massive regulatory line. Suddenly, you require your facility to be inspected by the Georgia Department of Agriculture or the federal government, and you are going to need a very specific mobile meat license. Beyond that, there are some highly specific, specialized credentials required for niche farm products. For instance, there's the GATE program, which is this fantastic tax exemption certificate for agricultural producers who are buying farm equipment. If you want to sell eggs, you need an egg candling certificate. And believe it or not, that actually requires completing a state class and passing a hands-on exam. And if you're looking at dairy, oh man, you will be strictly regulated by Grade A dairy permits, which focus heavily on pasteurization and sanitation standards. Full legal compliance in the agriculture space means knowing exactly which of these micro-layers applies directly to you. Which brings us to our final layer. Section 5, Deadlines and Penalties. Here is the critical first quarter timeline every single Georgia business owner needs to burn into their memory. All business occupational tax certificates expire on December 31st of the calendar year. Jurisdictions like Gwinnett County typically set an initial renewal target around February 15th, after which some minor late fees might start popping up, but the absolute universal hard deadline across municipalities like Johns Creek and Gwinnett, that is March 31st. And look, we aren't just talking about a little slap on the wrist here. These deadlines and the penalties for missing them are fully backed up and governed by the official Code of Georgia Annotated. State law explicitly empowers local counties and municipalities to enforce these collections aggressively. Why? Because they need to maintain their local revenue streams. So let's escalate these consequences step by step so we truly understand the financial pain of ignoring the bureaucracy. Let's say you miss that absolute March 31st renewal deadline. Bam. You will suffer an immediate 10% late filing fee penalty on the total amount you owe. But wait, it doesn't stop there. On top of that 10%, you're going to accrue an additional 1.5% interest penalty every single month that your balance remains unpaid. That adds up incredibly fast, and it can take a really serious bite right out of your operational budget. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. So, are your compliance layers fully peeled back and ready for opening day? We've covered a lot, from matching your home address on your ID to securing your Save and E-Verify affidavits, all the way to navigating those specialized food codes. You now have the visual roadmap. Please do not let that March 31st deadline catch you off guard. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope you leave this explainer feeling prepared and totally empowered to tackle your specific business licenses head-on.